Am I the asshole for sending a Venmo request for babysitter, hotel, and Uber reimbursement after a dry wedding? A friend from college got married this past weekend. The wedding was 45 minutes from my house, so my wife and I got a hotel room. We checked in, had a few pre-game cocktails, and we Ubered from the hotel to the venue. We sit down, wedding happens, it's beautiful. We get to the social hour, as it's called, and there is no booze. Turns out, this was a dry wedding. There was no indication that this was a dry wedding before showing up. I checked the digital version of the invite and website, nothing indicating this. I'm pissed for a few reasons. One, I might not have RSVP'd yes if I knew this. And two, I'm pissed I blew a few $100 on a hotel for the night, babysitters, and Ubers. I'm like, what the fuck? Other friends that were there were grumbling and felt similar to me. The night went on and the wedding was fine, but honestly, a bit of a bummer. Now that my wife and I have kids, nights like this are rare, and I was pumped to do something. So we dipped out a bit early and went out. Other friends rolled with us. We left in the middle of the dancing time and didn't stay for the exit. Later that night, I sent a Venmo request for the cost of babysitter, hotel, and Ubers. Yesterday, I heard from my college buddy. He was like, "What the fuck is this, asshole?" I explained I was mad that this was a dry wedding. The bride had family that were alcoholics, so they opted to not have alcohol as an option. I told him that's need to know information. Not informing us of that cost me and our other friends a lot of money. He said I should have asked him and not assumed it was a wet wedding. I said to him, alcohol is a default option. If you change the default, you tell people. He disagreed with that notion. I said, you drink. Why would I think it's dry? We went back and forth for a while. He still thinks I'm the asshole.
Am I in the wrong for kicking my sister's boyfriend out of my vacation home? My husband Kai and I own a vacation home on Lake Michigan. We both own it technically, but it was his before we got married. This becomes relevant later. My sister Leah has been using our vacation home since Kai and I started dating. We don't mind. She's always clean and courteous and leaves it better than she found it. However, she started dating her boyfriend Al about a year ago, and I can't say the same for him. Al is a total slob. He leaves dirty dishes, empty bottles, etc. everywhere and expects Leah to clean up. He has split custody of 2 young kids from his ex, who he just lets run free, expecting Leah to do the work even though they're his kids. On top of that, he's told Leah to get him a beer while she's busy, and he's watching TV a few times in front of Kai and me, so I can't imagine how he treats her when we're not around. Their house is always a mess because Leah works 60 hours a week and doesn't have time to take care of 2 small kids and Al, clean, and work long hours. Yet, somehow, I think Leah really loves Al. She looks at him like he's the only man in the world. When she talks about him, her eyes light up and her voice is sweet and melodic. That's why when Leah asked if she and Al could use a vacation home this week, I said yes. I figured what's the worst that could happen? Plus, Kai and I already planned on going 3 days after them, so we'd overlap. When Kai and I got there, the vacation house was a pigsty. It smelled like rotting food. There was a mountain of dirty dishes in the sink, the floor was sticky, and there were drawings on the walls with crayon. We got to the living room, where lo and behold, Leah was scrambling to pick up toys and Al was drinking a beer in a rocking chair. I immediately snatched the beer from his hand and asked him why he wasn't cleaning the mess he made. He asked why I assumed it was him and not Leah. I said it's because I'm not an idiot. He just chuckled and said that Leah was doing the cleaning and there didn't need to be 2 people cleaning. His nonchalance really ticked me off, so I told him that him and his sticky kids had an hour to pack things up and leave before I called the cops. Al looked at Kai and Kai was like, "What are you looking at me for? Go pack." At this point, Leah was really upset with me. She said they were looking forward to unwinding and I walked in and ruined it in 5 minutes, not even considering other resolutions to conflict. Plus, I had no claim to the house since I didn't buy it myself. I told her there is no conflict. Al is dead weight and that's that. And as for the house, Kai owns it and he was with me. She said if Al was leaving, she was leaving too. That night, I got a call from my mom asking why I kicked Leah out. I told her that I kicked Al out and Leah followed. My mom told me that I need to be more accepting of new members of the family and that not everyone is living the same lifestyle as me. Now she's mad and Leah won't talk to me. Was I in the wrong in this situation?
Did you know you don't have any friends because you just make things look too easy? Okay, let me backtrack a little. People who don't have a lot of friends actually are generally really confident and they're really good at what they do. So much so that they make it look so easy and people around them get jealous of you. And because you're so naturally good at what you do, you have this natural confidence because of the experience and just the joy that you have from being so good at what you do. The people that are not happy, they usually are so annoyed by your happiness and your overall confidence. I mean, they just are not on the same wavelength, so they can't understand it. And it's so easy to clock when they're being passive aggressive around you and say the most off-putting things. So story time, I have this quote-unquote friend. We were friends for a year, but I don't think I can call her a friend now. She actually asked a really innocent question, and I took a long time to explain to her because I felt like it was a worthy question to ask. She asked me how I earn my money, and I was like, oh yeah, a lot of people don't understand how creators earn money, so I took my time to explain it to her. Actually, no, that's not what happened. She didn't even ask how I earn my money. She literally just opened up the conversation saying, it doesn't seem like you have to work that much. Like, I don't see you working. How do you make your money? That was the question. That's how it all started. And I gave her the benefit of the doubt because we've been friends for a year. And I explained to her, well, I can see why I make what I do look easy because I've been doing this for a decade now. But it takes a lot of effort to create one piece of content. You have to plan, you have to light, you have to film, you have to do your hair and makeup, and you have to execute the content, edit it. You know, there's just a whole slew of things. So after I explained all this to her, you know, I just thought that like, yeah, you know, I think that really should clear up your confusion. But no, she was like, okay, you have an apartment to pay for it? Because she knows where I live because she's my friend or friend. She's like, you have a daughter, you have all these classes, you have blah, blah, blah expenses. She just keeps listing all these expenses. And I'm like, yes, girl, I know what my expenses are. And then she was like, so you make all that money by just doing ads? And at this point, I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't think I want this conversation anymore. So I just nodded at her and I walked away. Well, it wasn't really that dramatic, but I walked forward and I didn't really want to talk about it anymore. But yeah, I think that's like one of the later lessons that I'm learning in life in my 30s is that there will be a lot of really great supportive women in your life that will be your best friends, and they'll be your friends for life, most likely. But I realize women who have an abundance mindset, and I'm not just talking about women, just anybody in general, have an abundance mindset, you tend to attract each other and you form a core group of friends. You'll find that these women will not be jealous of you. They'll support you in what you do, and they'll be excited for you. But I feel like they don't come by very easily, especially for girls / women who make things look easy and effortless, and they just are so confident. I feel like these women tend to be destined to kind of have a smaller smaller group of friends in their life. And when I was younger, I used to think that was such a bad thing. But honestly, now that I'm older, I'm like, that's the best thing ever, because you only have so much time in your day to spend and really nurture these relationships. So anyway, if you're too good at what you do and you make it look too effortless, there will be people that are jealous of you, but it is so easy to clock them, especially they just can't help themselves. They'll expose themselves.
How I became homeless, so that's what this is going to be. Okay, let me give you a little background. Back in 2021, my mother had a really terrible stroke on Easter, and she ended up needing to be put into a rehab nursing facility because she was that badly affected by the stroke. And those facilities cost a lot of money. So my aunt at the time and uncle told me and my sister that we needed to move out because they needed to put the house up for sale to cover the cost of the nursing facility. We never lived out on our own, but I moved in with 3 other roommates into an apartment and stayed there for a whole year. The rent was like $1,050 a month, I want to say. God, I hate when I get makeup on my shirts because I don't have a neck. Anyway, my mom actually passed away while I was living there in January of the year that our lease was up. When it came around time for the summer and the lease was about to end, 2 of the roommates decided to move out, and I thought it was just gonna be me and the other roommate, and they left unexpectedly. The price of rent also increased to almost like $1,400, which I would have had to pay all by myself. I was also letting my younger sister, stay with me without paying any rent because she didn't have a job because she just found out she was pregnant the week after my mom's funeral, and she was a mess and grieving, like I was too. Mind you, it had only been 6 months since my mom died, and it was all I could do to just get up and go to work every day to make sure that me and my sister had a place to stay. Oh my God, here I go again. But at the job that I had at the time, I could not swing $1,400 a month plus a $200 power bill. I couldn't do it. Also, I feel like it's important to add that after my mom died, none of our family talked to us. They ghosted us for real. I was 22 and my sister was 19 at the time, and none of them checked in on us. Nobody asked how we were doing or tried to see if we were okay dealing with our mom's death. None of them reached out whatsoever. In fact, one of my family members actually made a fake TikTok and started leaving hate comments and harassing me in my DMs because I posted about my mom being in the hospital on her deathbed, saying stuff like, oh, you're just using your mom's death for clout, or she would be ashamed of you posting like this in a time like this. First of all, it was my mama. I can post about whatever I want. And I sure as hell wasn't getting any support from my family. But you know who was giving me support? People on TikTok that have been through the same thing. Sorry, not sorry. But anyways, after the funeral, which a lot of people didn't even come, I've reached out to a lot of the family that I grew up with, cousins, aunts, uncles. None of them will respond. A couple of them I still have as friends on Facebook, but they will read my messages asking what I did to them, what me and my sister did for them to hate us, for them to not talk to us, to ghost us like that, and how we miss them and love them and we're sorry for whatever we did. Nothing. Crickets. And it's sad as fuck. Actually, now that I think about it, I did have one distant uncle message me on Facebook the year that my mom died and ask how me and my sister were doing. And to be honest, I overshared and I was a little too real with them. And I said, I'm gonna be honest, it's been really hard. I've thought about myself multiple times. I miss her so much. Financial problems and my sister being pregnant, everything is just very overwhelming. Wasn't asking him for money or for help, but he asked me how I was doing, so I was being honest. And he left me on red. But I'm getting off track. I just mentioned that to let you know we didn't have the ability to ask any family for help, like none. So we ended up being months behind on rent. I was trying to work out deals with the office to make a payment plan. I had just got a new job where I would be able to probably afford it if we didn't eat or I just walked to work, which it was right down the street. God damn it. But it was too far gone at that point, and I knew that. And I tried reaching out for churches or like government organizations that could help, but couldn't really find the help that we needed. Like I said, my sister found out she was pregnant in January, so she's like 6-7 months pregnant at this time. I'm not gonna make her go out and get a job. She's still grieving my mom just as bad as I am, but she's also pregnant and younger than me, so I was like, let me be big sis and make something happen. But we got eviction papers, and I took one of my first checks from my good job, and I paid for a month at an extended stay motel in Tillman's Corner, Alabama. If you know, you know. And I can say that because I'm from Theodore and Tillman's Corner, but not the best place. The Extended Suites, or whatever it was called. Notorious for roaches, rats, drugs, sex work, just not the best place you want to be. But it was what I could afford at the time, and so I moved me and my very pregnant sister into a single room at the Extended Suites, and it had 2 queen-size beds next to each other, a bathroom, a mini fridge, and a TV. No kitchen, but we had a roof over our heads, so I was grateful. And one thing I didn't realize until it happened to me is when you're homeless, you lose all of your belongings. Like, there were so many articles of clothing, furniture, family heirlooms that we couldn't even fit in the room that we moved to, let alone the car. We lost so much stuff. We did our best to keep the place clean without any roaches. We bought new like sheets and stuff from Walmart and pillows that we could put on the bed to make it feel more like ours. We even started decorating a bit just to make it feel more homey, to distract from the fact that we were in a literal extended stay motel. Was it dangerous there? Yes. But I personally live by the philosophy, don't start none, there won't be nothing. So I mind my business and, you know, don't look people in the eyes that look tweaked out. And we only ever had one scary instance. So me and my sister were sitting in the parking lot one day with the windows rolled down, and this guy came out of nowhere, leans over in the window, starts asking us if we know how to party, if we want ice, pills, whatever, and then starts telling my sister, like, I'm in the passenger, my sister's driving, my window is down, so he's leaned over me talking to her saying, you know, I eat it real good. And we were kind of scared because he seemed kind of aggressive, and so we went upstairs and he followed and started pounding on our door. Terrifying. That's the only time we ever called the police when it came to people that stayed there. I don't even know if he stayed there, but the police came, didn't find him, but came up to our door and asked for his description. And then literally like 5 minutes after the police left, he came back and was pounding on the window. I don't fuck with snitches! And we were like, oh my god, we're gonna die. But we didn't. Other than having to like step around ladies of the night doing their business on the one staircase that we needed to use to get up to our room, it was fine. After we stayed there, we eventually had to leave because we couldn't afford it anymore, and my sister moved in with her friend, and I slept in my boyfriend's car because he was staying at home at the time for a few months until I got the place that I'm in now. So yeah, 2022 was definitely the worst year of my life. So much trauma. Lost my mama, lost my car, got evicted, became homeless, dealt with other personal stuff, became mentally ill, and it's just like, god dang, the universe kept throwing it, piling it on top of me. I'm so traumatized from being homeless that the slightest amount of financial tightness scares me. Like, I'm constantly terrified that I'm gonna end up homeless again, to the point where I have panic attacks thinking about getting kicked out. But also, I had a breakthrough a few months ago. I had a revelation though that really changed my perspective on what I've been through, and I was really just grateful that if anybody had to have all this shit happen at once, I'm glad that I had it happen to me, because now I know I'm strong enough to withstand anything that life throws at me. I've pretty much almost seen it all. I'm not challenging the universe, but I know that whatever happens, I will be okay and I'll pull through. Yeah, that's pretty much it. 5 years ago, I would have never expected any of that to happen to me or my family. So no matter what, always stay humble, cherish the people and the things that you have. You never know when life's going to throw a curveball, or if you also don't judge people, because you have no idea what they've been through, what their story is. Everybody's just trying to make it out here, okay?
Ready with me while I talk about some things that I have gone through as somebody who's grown up in a really amazing and also very strange industry. Just because I have been on TV does not mean I think of myself as any type of celebrity or whatever, but I have had some very interesting encounters that I think people think you deserve because you have put yourself out there on TV. So I'm just going to share my own experiences, and some of them are really strange and weird. So let's get ready. So one of the first, like, quote unquote, like, scary interactions for me was this person recognized me from Disney, and I thought that was really cool and very exciting. And so I was talking to them, started kind of getting a little like, I don't necessarily feel safe right now. Like, I just had this odd feeling, and I looked away. I think I was like trying to call my dad over. This looks really dark right now, but I swear it's like a tinted moisturizer. I called my dad over, and as I did, and I was like looking the other way, she pulled a strand of my hair out, and I looked back at her and I was like, I think I just kind of froze, and she just took it and she was like holding it and rubbing it between her fingers. It scared me, and I actually like had a hard time sleeping for a couple of nights after that. Yeah, that was uncomfortable. After doing Shameless, I had a lot of like weird interactions with men. I know, crazy, right? Just like yell in my face and be like, did I see your tits on screen? And it's like, no, you would have remembered if you would have, but also, no, you didn't. But if you had, that's just like an uncomfortable thing to ask somebody. I had a lot of just like weird questions asked of me from being on Shameless that like I kind of knew came with the territory, or I kind of figured. But the older I get, the more that I just realize like how uncomfortable some questions are. Especially if I'm standing there with like my husband and somebody's like, oh my God, what was it like to kiss this person? Or what was it like to do this or that? And it's like, it was a job. I'm so appreciative of that job. I absolutely love that job. One time I was eating out. One time I was eating with friends, and I like saw this girl with her dog, and she kept staring at me. So I like politely smiled back, you know. And then once I got home, I had somebody post on my Instagram being like, I saw you today, I had my dog, I noticed like how many carbs you were eating, and I'm so excited, is Cassidy pregnant in this next season of Shameless? And I was just like, oh my God, this person's just looking at the food that I'm eating on my plate, and like, no, I was not coming back to Shameless. No, I was not pregnant. No, none of that was true, but it was just like, it was a weird thing to hear and a weird thing to feel. I get that kind of stuff a lot, actually, where people, they don't tell you, like they won't come up to you and say hi, but they'll message me later on and be like, I saw you at blah, blah, blah. And they'll send me pictures of me. And I'm like, oh, you could have just said hi. Like, I don't mind people saying hi as long as you're nice. Like, I don't mind it at all. If anything, I encourage it. I'm like, I get excited when I see people I know on TV, or, you know, somebody I'm a fan of, and I'm just like, I just want to say love you, whatever, you know. Obviously, like, timing's everything and stuff like that. So if I'm at like a funeral, maybe not. But like, one time I was on a plane and I was sleeping, these kids that were in front of me were taking pictures of me like through the seats, and I noticed them, and I was like, like, excuse me, asleep, like, I probably didn't look great in that photo, but we can take a photo together. And their mom turns around and she goes, no, 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 they recognized you from TV. And I was like, right, yeah, that's totally. And she was like, yeah, so they're gonna take pictures of you. And I was like, I was by myself, so I'm not good at advocating for myself, so I was just kind of like, so now whenever I'm on planes, most of the time I wear a sweatshirt backwards, and then I put the hood over my head so that people can't see how gross I look when I'm sleeping, because I don't want people taking pictures. Mind you, 90%, if not maybe 95% of the times that I've like met people, like met fans or people who recognize me, have been amazing and so great. These are just the few that you're like, that leave a bad taste in your mouth and make you feel like a little uncomfortable. Oh my God, I went way too deep. Oh, I don't know what I was doing. What did I do? It sucks because like there's a part of me that doesn't want to talk about this because I don't want people like going and searching it up. There have been like a lot of photos that have been edited of me over the years of making it look like I am consenting to things that I am not, and non-clothed with other people or some by myself. But they've used photos of me from when I was a child. And that stuff, like, it's uncomfortable no matter what you do, but it's so much more invasive when they're using your 12-year-old photo or your 10-year-old photo, or I think I've seen as young as almost 8 years old. And the fact that that stuff is like online and fine for people to look at is really gross. You know, you try to get one taken down and like 20 more go up. And so you just kind of feel like you're stuck sometimes. Difficult, you know, and now I'm a mother to be. I'm pregnant. I think I've been reflecting on some of the things that have been happening or have happened to me as a kid. It's a scary world. People don't pull people's hair out that you don't know, or even people you do know. Don't stalk people. And then we're all good.
I recently had the rudest influencer experience of my life, so I have to spill the tea. I was going to a movie premiere. I got invited with a +1, so I told my friend to meet me at the theater. They give me a movie ticket with an assigned seat. Every single movie premiere I've ever been to is like that. Like, you get a ticket and then you go sit in that assigned seat. The lady at check-in sees that I have a +1, and she tells me that she's gonna hold on to that ticket and make sure that my friend gets it. I decide to go to my seat, settle in. This influencer comes up to me. At first she seemed nice and she tells me she needs an extra seat, so I was like, oh, I'm here, my friend's in the one next to me, but I haven't seen anyone in that one on the end. Then she says, no, I need that one, and points at the seat I'm currently sitting in. And keep in mind, the theater's still mostly empty at this point. I thought maybe I got mixed up, so I pull out my ticket and look at it, and I'm like, oh no, this is D10, like this is my seat. At this point, I see her face is starting to get mad. She's like, oh no, we're not going by the seats on the ticket, like everyone just comes and sits wherever they want. I was like, are you sure? Because at check-in, they told me to sit here to make sure that my friend gets a spot next to me. Now she starts going off at me, being like, you're the only one who cares about the assigned seat, nobody cares, we all just come and sit down, like why are you ruining this for everybody? And I didn't want to move, not that I even care where I was sitting, but I was like, then I'm gonna be sitting in someone else's assigned seat, it's gonna be awkward when they come. But at this point, like, her voice is really loud, people are looking, and this is like a professional event. I don't want to look like I'm having drama. I go and move a couple seats over, even though I know now I'm in someone else's spot. She leaves to go to the bathroom, and then I hear the people behind me complaining that she took their seat too, and the seats that they went to sit in, another person was like, oh, that's my assigned seat, and it was just messing it up for everyone. And I'm like, yeah, she kicked me out too. When she gets back, they ask her again nicely to go to her seat. She refuses, so they bring over security, and he tells her to go in her seat, which she finally does, but she's yelling at us, calling us crybabies. And the worst part is her seat was literally just one row back this whole time. Like, I've just never met such a diva in my whole life.
There's nothing more fake than a friend who like lurks on your social medias and does not comment anything on your account and just completely views all your stuff without saying anything. A lot of people can argue with me and be like, oh my god, it's just social media, why is it a big deal? But if you have that friend that's constantly posting on their story or constantly like posting anything in general, whatever you do post, they never comment, they're always the first one to view everything you post, they consider themselves like your friend, like, I'm sorry, like, I feel like there's like a certain type of boundary to this. I feel like when it comes to my friends posting on social media, I feel like I'm like extremely supportive when it comes to it. Social media is like the way I keep up with people. If a friend posts something on like Instagram or like Snapchat, of course I'm going to comment, of course I'm going to support, be like, oh my god, so pretty. That's my friend. Like, I'm going to support you. Like, usually when it comes to Instagram stories, I am the first person to like mostly every single Instagram story. I don't know why I do this, but every time I see an Instagram story that I like, I will genuinely heart it. But I feel like the rules are different when someone's especially active on Instagram and they're actively posting. I'm going out of my way and commenting and liking all your posts, and you're not doing the same to me, and you're just like absolutely lurking. I'm going to get like a bad vibe from it. I don't know, I feel like it's just different because I've been posting consecutively on TikTok, and like I've noticed who comments and who doesn't comment. Don't get me wrong, I don't expect you to comment on every single one of my posts, but like if you're active on social media and I'm hyping you up like mostly half the time, can't you do the same for me? Without mean girl energy. God, you know what the worst is too? Personally, what I think is the worst is when you post on your private story and then you have these lurkers who like don't interact with your private story. I have two private stories, so I have like a main one where I just post like mostly just like basic pictures for like 100 people to see. I also have my private which I realize a lot of girls do, which has like 12 people. It's all girls. I call it Future MILFs Only. I've had it for like 3 years. My boyfriend is on my private story because like he doesn't even view Snapchat, so I just keep him on like my main story. The main point of my private is to post stuff so people can view it and also like interact with me because they're mostly just like my 10 closest friends. Posting something, usually I'll like post an outfit or something and I'll be like, oh, is this cute? Like swipe up. You don't swipe up. I'm sorry. Like I just feel like that's freaking weird. Like I post it and like you're one of the first people to view it and you don't say anything, like crickets. Like that's awkward. I don't even know if I'm making sense. It's literally like 7:30 in the morning right now and I'm exhausted. It really applies to like a certain extent of people, especially if you're just like active on social media. If not, like I wouldn't really like think too deep into this. It really just truly gives off mean girl energy.
I don't want my sister's boyfriend to propose at my wedding. Okay, here we go. Original post, July 24th, 2024. I don't want my sister's boyfriend to propose at the wedding, but everyone is against me and my mom said I was ungrateful because my parents are paying for the wedding. The wedding is on Saturday and they just told me that last Monday. This was going to be a part of his speech. I said no, so my mom suggested that I would, instead of tossing the bouquet, I would go and give it to her like on TikTok and he would propose. I said no. My mom got angry when I still said, please no, because this suggestion would be at the end of my party anyway and wouldn't steal from my party. I am not good at writing these things, so I am sorry if I'm leaving out plenty, but I can't stop crying. Am I the astronaut? Sometimes I feel like I am, sometimes I feel like I'm not. I want to stay anonymous, so I will not be answering questions about my location or names. Additional information from OP on growing up with her sister at their parents' house. OP, I have never had a birthday of my own growing up. My parents always made sure my sister would also get a cake, candles, and gifts. Then people refused to buy gifts for both, so my parents divided the gifts between us. When I was 12, my aunt was very angry that they gave her gift to my sister instead of me. So next birthday, they hid all the gifts from other people and gave them to me after the party without my sister's knowledge, because people refused to share the gifts between us. That was my last birthday that I celebrated until I moved out. I told them I don't want birthdays nor gifts anymore, just pancakes for breakfast. Update August 15th, 2024. New reader, please check my first post. Hi, I'm sorry for not updating earlier. This is my update. Then my husband said that this probably would be the reaction everywhere, not only on my post. So we decided then embarrassing themselves was their best punishment. We decided, well, it. I'm marrying my best friend. Nothing else matters. I ignored my family for the rest of that week up until my wedding, and I was busy anyway. I saw them first at my wedding. My mother made her speech, then she asked my, I guess, future brother-in-law now to join her. He proposed, and literally 2 or 3 clapped besides my mother, sister, and I. The rest looked like the meme girl, side-eyeing Chloe, so my husband was right. After the awkwardness, the rest of the evening was amazing. I spent it with my husband and close friends. My sister, fiance, and mom sat sulking for the rest of the night because I don't think anyone went to congratulate them. My mom sent me a text later asking if I sabotaged. I didn't answer it because, leave me alone. I'm on my honeymoon. I don't want drama, but also I don't care what she believes. I will not explain myself. It is not my problem how little self-awareness they have, that they didn't even understand that what they did was actually frowned upon by normal people. Thank you.
My life story so far. So I was born to parents with substance use disorders, which is not uncommon because we lived in rural Appalachian, Ohio. A lot of people within our community struggle with drugs. Beyond the drugs, my parents also had issues with domestic violence, and they quickly got divorced. Somehow my dad was granted full custody of both me and my older brother, but he wasn't able to take care of us, so my grandparents took us in. I'm guessing that was meant to be a temporary solution, but it ended up being permanent. I actually can't remember living with my parents at all because I was so young. Living with my grandparents definitely offered a lot of stability. They both had stable jobs, and they didn't have any kind of drug issues. However, drugs have always been a big issue within my family and community, so there really was no escaping it. To put it simply, I have witnessed a lot of things that I should not have as a child. That said, because I lived with my grandparents, I had a relatively more stable childhood, and so I did really well in school. And when I got into high school, I qualified for a program called Outward Bound, which helped me learn about college. And through that program, I learned that schools will give you scholarships based on your ACT score. And there were even schools that offered guaranteed full rides if you got a certain score. So I decided that I wanted to go to school for free, so I started studying for my ACTs. Then one day, during my senior year, mind you, I got a letter in the mail from Yale explaining their financial aid. which if you don't know, a lot of these big private schools offer need-based aid. So if your family makes below a certain income, you go for free. And I definitely qualified for that, so I decided to apply. I applied to both Yale and Columbia, and I did not think I'd get in because no one from my school had ever gotten into a school like this. And to my utter disbelief, I got into both Yale and Columbia, and they were free. I ended up going to Yale, where I earned my degree in psychology in 2021. After graduating, I moved away from Ohio and started working, and then I started making little videos on TikTok for fun, and that has turned into so much more than I ever could have imagined. I've been granted so many opportunities on social media because you guys choose to watch my videos. There are definitely still issues at home, and things are still difficult, but it's a lot easier now that I'm away. And as silly as it sounds, making all these little videos has helped me in more ways than you can possibly imagine.